We're just going to be talking about maybe a few isolated strong to possibly severe thunderstorms we head into the afternoon and evening time period. Now, we haven't seen a ton of change in the Storm Prediction Center's forecast here. In fact, if you come over to the screen, you can actually see in this gold shade, Waycross, Lake City, Valdosta, you're still anticipating the threat for some scattered strong to severe thunderstorms, but you can see the Jacksonville area, Gainesville, back through St. Augustine in this green. That's a lower threat for activity. We're talking about just a few scattered, isolated, strong to severe thunderstorms, and again, that would primarily be in the evening time period. Now, the tornado risk has actually gone down with this system. So earlier we had an area of a 5% tornado chance out here. That has now gone away because the system is weaker. So this area in green, that is a 2% risk of an isolated tornado. And we really think the bigger threat is going to be the wind threat. So areas in gold, that is a 15% chance of a strong wind gust within 25 miles. And then you can see the Jacksonville area in this area of tan, that is a 5% chance. So bottom line, the further north and west you go in southeast Georgia, northeast Florida, the higher the chance you could see a strong wind gust. In fact, you can see Waycross, Lake City in this gold area, Jacksonville, St. Augustine in that more of a, tan area. So what are we going to be talking about here as we head towards the back end of the day? Well, we think really, again, the biggest threat is going to be the threat for some strong winds. The rain's going to come down at a pretty good clip. I'm not necessarily anticipating any flooding, but you could have some minor ponding in the roadways, areas that normally have issues out there. I still can't completely rule out a straight isolated tornado if these storms were to intensify a little bit heading into the afternoon hours. Highest chance for that would probably be in southeast Georgia and then out towards Columbia County in northeast Florida. I just don't think the tornado threat is going to be very high. A lot of people wondering about the timeline of all of this, and here's our updated Futurecast computer model here. 3 o'clock, it looks like the line would likely be working its way from Waycross just to the north of Lake City area. And then you can see 3 o'clock, Jacksonville is fine. So picking up the kids from school should be okay. But as we get towards about 6 o'clock, that's when this line begins to work its way into sections of Nassau and Duval County. Also notice these areas of red aren't nearly as pronounced as they were earlier. That is a sign by our computer model the system will be weakening. Now, because we already got some really strong winds out there, it doesn't take much of a wind gust to produce a 50 to 55 mile an hour wind. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on here heading into the evening hours. But I want to stress early portion of the commute for the PM hours will be fine. And maybe the back end, we get towards 6, 7 o'clock, we may be dealing with those strong thunderstorms. Line continues to weaken. By 8 o'clock, the back edge of the rain working through far western sections of Duval. St. Augustine, Palatka will begin to see the activity at that point. And then heading into the late evening hours by midnight, the threat for at least some steady rain over and done with. We may be left with some scattered light showers here and there across parts of the region, but we're really going to clear out quickly overnight tonight. As we head towards the daybreak hours, we'll be left with plenty of cloud cover, dry conditions, and then here comes the cold air. Look at low temperatures tomorrow morning down to the 30s and 40s in many locations, including a 48 in Mayport, 45 in Jacksonville. Could get down to the 30s in cities like Valdosta and possibly even the Waycross area. So bottom line with this system, it's not going to be a blockbuster system, but we just can't rule out the threat for an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm afternoon through the early evening time period. Biggest threat for the action, again, is going to be in southeast Georgia, areas west of I-75. But the good news as we stand here this afternoon, the threat for a tornado is significantly lower than it was in the Panhandle, even lower than earlier forecasted in the parts of northeast Florida. Of course, we'll be tracking those storms for you hour by hour here on News4JAX and News4JAX.com. Again, I'm Assistant Chief Meteorologist David Heckard. We'll keep you weather aware throughout the rest of the daytime hours.
David, you're going to be on the news starting at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Give us a reason to watch.
Well, today at 4, we're going to be talking about these showers and storms. We'll be using ExactTrack 4D to track them across the area. And you saw the cold temperatures. It's even colder than this. We may be dealing with frost, maybe even a freeze in parts of the area. We'll talk much more about that. And our somewhat active weather pattern is going to continue heading into this upcoming weekend. So we'll have the update on those rain chances for the weekend as well. It's coming up today at 4. John will be with me at 5, or John's on at 5. We'll be back at 5:30.